Hello and welcome to Joburg Today. My name is Tumi Nhlapo, bringing you the best of what's going down in and around Johannesburg. According to the South African National Bottled Water Association, around 500 million litres of bottled water are sold in the country annually. Marisa found out how quality bottled water gets to supermarkets.
Bottled water is not, well, just water in a bottle. By keeping a close eye on its members, the South African National Bottled Water Association, for one, helps ensure that you can choose drinking bottled water or water in a bottle.
At the foot of the Drakensberg in KZN, water is pumped from about 100 meters below the surface, down 2 kilometers of pipeline before it gets in touch with oxygen for the first time in the bottling plant. Naturally sourced bottled water can easily travel hundreds of kilometers before ending up on supermarket shelves. Like the water, the South African bottled water industry also came a long way.
Bottled water was legislated by general food safety and quality criteria. So the very first bottlers realized that this wasn't good enough, and they created a guideline and a benchmark for the industry to follow. In July 2007, bottled water's very own legislation was ratified.
Now, the SANBOA standard is regarded as one of the best bottled water standards globally. The standard was developed by a team of highly acclaimed microbiologists, food scientists from NSF in the US, UK and South Africa, as well as a team of local experts and hydrologists. The standard was benchmarked also against some of the leading international standards and national legislation.
Since 2007, the single auditable SANBOA standard, covering aspects like legal, hygiene, food safety and environmental requirements, has been regulating the organization's voluntary members.
Approximately 85% of bottled water sold in South Africa by volume are members of SANBOA. The SANBOA logo on a bottle of water offers the consumer a quality seal and a safety seal.
SANBOA members are both big national and smaller regional brands. Joburg Today was on site when the latest member went through its application audit.
We met with SANBOA before we even took the decision to invest in the bottled water industry, and we found them to be extremely competent, and their knowledge of the industry is unmatched. If you have aspirations to supply product to South Africa's mass market, the only real way you're going to be able to do that is through the large retail chains. And most of the retailers in South Africa accept the SANBOA standard.
There's a big saving for the bottling plants in the fact that SANBOA has been accepted by the local retailers, because they do not have to undergo a range of duplicating standards anymore. This saving is carried through to the consumer, who can now have total confidence that they're buying a product that is responsible, safe and authentic.
So it seems looking out for the SANBOA logo is one way to go if drinking more than just water in a bottle is important to you. Cheers, Marisa de Klerk, Joburg Today.
Like us on Facebook, joburgtoday.tv, and follow us on Twitter at Joburg Today. Water restrictions are still firmly in place in Johannesburg due to severe national drought. With the rainy season almost over, practicing water-wise gardening may just be so much more important.
Well-known horticulturist Keith Kirsten and some of his colleagues shared some drought survival gardening tips with Joburg Today.
You can plant more indigenous plants or water-wise plants, anything from a succulent to even a plant that comes from the Mediterranean regions or California, Australia, that are already water-wise in themselves. They're able to take heat and drought conditions, and as long as they're not invasive plants. Then the ground, I mean, before you even plant them, you need to make sure that you've worked compost and mulch into your grounds and improve the condition of your soil. The other thing is to use the mulch on the surface of the ground, and then deep watering less frequently. most people overwater their gardens, and that's a fact.
Determining how much water an average Johannesburg garden uses is difficult.
Figures of around 35% have been quoted, and that is 35% of total household water use being used in the garden. From our calculator that we've developed, it's still a new tool, but we found figures ranging from 12% to as low as 2.75%.
One of the fastest, affordable and effective means to immediately start conserving water is to cover up exposed soil surfaces using mulch. This helps preventing evaporation and keeps plant roots cool.
So the easiest way to do it is actually to go and look in your garden and see what you currently have. So the fallen leaves, rather use those leaves, spread it in amongst all your flowers, your grass cuttings. You also want to actually put those into your flower beds. If you don't have a lot of trees and that type of thing in your garden which are providing leaves, then you're going to have to go and buy mulch from a garden centre, and then you would use things such as bark chips, macadamia nutshells, and then you've got also things like pebbles or stones, and then of course, you have to have plants. So you get living mulch, such as ground covers.
One can also reduce lawns.
So you can put over areas of your lawn to more of a wild meadow type garden. You can have not lawn on your pavements. Plant trees, because trees give you shade and conserve water in that they allow less evaporation of the water from the ground. And then in the choice of plants, and if your cameraman can follow me a little bit, we're going to come up here. And we're going to show you, this is a buddleia. It attracts butterflies, it attracts the birds, it's a beautiful thing. This is a euphorbia, known commonly as fire sticks. And that is actually a succulent type plant that's got water contained in the stems. And plant more indigenous plants. This is the dagga plant, known as a common wild dagga, and it's Leonotus leonoris. You actually can use it herbally, but it's certainly not going to put you on a trip. And that has orange flowers, you get a white variety. Gara is a common plant. It's known as a prairie plant. And thuricum, this is a wild hen in chickens. It gets these lovely little white flowers, and it grows like a weed, but it'll cover an entire. I've got a wonderful patch of gravel, and this is a wild hen and chickens that I've got growing in a gravel area in my kitchen courtyard. This is a little silver ray, and then people say, "Oh, I hate succulents." Well, what you plant in your garden is your choice. And of course, here's a nice aloe. And an aloe is a sculptural plant, and there are people that don't like aloes. Well, get with the program and go more indigenous. But they are the plants that are going to survive the real dry conditions and the drought. I've planted in a wild meadow garden, in my garden, lots of wild grasses to attract the birds and the butterflies and the insects and things, and it's fantastic. And they're the good insects, not the harmful ones. And I've also planted yarrow, achillea, which is a wonderful perennial. It takes any amount of cold and it takes any amount of heat. And that's a little convolvulus. Very hardy Mediterranean plant, likes the dry conditions, doesn't like wet feet.
So, Johannesburgers, there seems to be no excuse for having barren sandpits as gardens. Marisa de Klerk, Joburg Today.
I'm Bryce Nicholson, and you're watching Joburg Today.
That's all for today. For more on the city, do check out our playlist. From myself, Dubin Chapo, it's goodbye.